In this video I'm going to demonstrate how to diagnose a buckled mag. A buckled mag means the mag has lost its roundness. Somewhere on this mag there is damage. Right, the first thing is, how did I know there was a mag problem? Well, when I was in the car driving, there was like almost a whirring sound. It sounds very similar to a bearing. A bearing noise makes kind of like this sound, and it's consistent, and it usually comes after about 60 kilometers an hour, which is very similar to the symptoms of a mag which has gone out of round. Now, if you look at the mag, it actually looks perfect. If you're wondering why these wheel bolts are not here, it's because I'm just for the video. They should be here. I'm just to put this mag back on just to demonstrate. Right, so what happens is, the first thing you'd want to do is check if it's a bearing, because a bearing sound and a mag sound of a kinked mag kind of got a similar sound. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to spin the wheel, and when you spin the wheel, you're listening out for any whirring. And when I'm spinning this wheel, I'm not having any of those symptoms. It definitely does not sound like a bearing. Now, to determine if it's a mag or tire problem, I now get closer to the wheel and I turn it, and I'm now watching the tire and the rim together, and I'm looking to see if there's any inconsistencies. And a good way to do that is to focus on a specific point. Now, if I move the camera like that and now I spin the wheel, I'm going to be looking here, and what I'm looking for is any shifts in the tire profile. So I'm going to turn this, and I'm seeing something there. I don't know if you are seeing at the back of the mag, it's actually back of the wheel, it's actually whopping a little bit. So now I'm going to take the camera a bit closer, and where I want you to look is here at the back. And what you're looking for is what would normally be described as almost like a flat spot. It's like the tire actually is deflecting. Now let's go around. And I can see it in the video, the tire actually bumping up and down. Now, if I come from the inner view, you'll actually see it even more. So I'm going to just put the camera there. Right, so you need to focus over here and see that the tire is actually doing that. So it should become evident that there is something wrong. Now when I turn the camera and I show you the inner side of the mag, if you're looking over here on the rim, you should see that the rim has lost its consistency. There, wow, look at that. And you see there, right, just over there, there it comes round. So let me spin it and you can have a look at what has happened there. You can see and the reason why this has happened is the driver has probably hit a pothole, and you can't see it on the face of the mag. And most actual dings and bends actually happen on the inner, because it's actually the weakest part of the mag. Now what has happened is, because the mag has actually fallen in a little bit, the mag is no longer supporting the tire, and the tire actually follows the deformity on the mag, and that is why the tire is actually doing this. Alright, I'm now going to take the tire and mag, I'm now going to take the wheel off and just show you close up and discuss it a little bit further. Right, now I have the wheel off and I'm just inspecting the wheel and looking at the mag, and I can see here is the damage. Now just to put it into perspective, what has happened is the tire has hit a pothole or a pavement of some sort, and it has pushed here on this mag and has actually deformed this. It's no longer, I can actually feel here with my hand how the mag no longer follows a perfect round shape. It's now actually coming down a bit. And what happens is, because it's lost this support here for the tire, it's actually coming down. The tire has actually fallen down a little bit, and that is why when you spin the wheel, it does that. The tire actually almost it depicts a flat spot, like it drops down. Now what happens is, as you driving and you increase speed, that changing in profile actually makes the sound, and that's that whirring sound, which is actually similar to a bearing. In fact, when I was driving the car, I actually said to the owner, I said, it sounds like you've got a bearing fault. And the sound was a zh, and here's the culprit. So the next step now is to get this straightened. I'll now discuss the process of getting this straightened. What will happen is you've got to take it to a rim repair shop, and what they'll do is they'll take the tire off firstly, and they will then heat up the mag. It's very important to heat up the mag. Why? Because this is an alloy, mostly aluminium. And what happens is, yes, I know there are some people who will just try and hammer this out. Maybe they'll even use a bottle jack and try and press it up. For some people it works, but the problem is it actually can crack, and then you actually destroy the mag. It'll have to be welded, and they'll weld it, build it up, and then grind it down and get that shape again. So the best option now is to take it to a mag place. They'll heat it up. Once they heat it up, they will spin it on a mag wheel repair machine. I may have a picture, I'll show you what it looks like. And what happens is they will measure it and make sure that they get this back into the round shape. Why is this important? The first thing is because the tire has lost its support here, it's actually now taking the shape of this defunct mag. So what happens is you're actually going to destroy your tire. Will the tire come back to its round? It's a 50-50 chance. There's a 50% chance that if you change this, especially if you do it quickly and you push it to another part of the, you don't see, when you reseat the tire, you make sure that you don't have that the tire in the same place because of the balancing. And what you'll see is maybe for the first 1,000 kilometers, the tire will still offer that that flat spot characteristic, even though it's now got the support. So what will happen is you'll spin this mag, and it'll actually look as though it's still bent, but it won't be. It's just that the tire now needs to go back into round, and it may or may not happen. The longer you leave it like this, the worse the outcome. And what will happen to the tire? Well, eventually, because of that, you will keep having the noise. It will wear a little bit funny. In terms of safety, it's okay. Just at high speeds, you must understand that the tire is actually moving up and down. And because it's moving up and down, you're kind of separating the tire from the road. It's actually very important to have the tire in contact with the road. If your tire is actually doing this, you're actually creating a little bit of a gap between the tire and the road, because as the tire goes over the road where the tire is actually raised, then the next point there's a slight gap between the contact, especially at very high speeds, because it also depends on how fast the compound can reflex itself back into the shape, because obviously the weight of the car is forcing the tire to change shape while you drive. So for best results, you want the tire to have a complete round characteristic. Right, the next step is to take the mag to the mag repair center. As you can see, the gent is heating it up, and as I explained about the reason for heating, to stop any crackings, also makes it more malleable. And you've got to reform it. That machine you're seeing in the picture there actually spins the mag, and the engineer then is supposed to get it as round as possible back to the way it was when the mag was in its new position. The next step is to make sure that the mag still meets the specification. For example, if it's a 15-inch mag, the circumference must be 15-inch, 16-inch mag must still be 16-inch, and that is the tape there measuring the circumference, because if they did any grinding of the mag, then it actually changes the circumference, which again creates a problem, and it also weakens the mag. In the mag that you're seeing on the picture, they did some welding, and therefore they had to check that the circumference was still meeting the specification. This is a very important step, because there are people who are grinding down mags to try and make them straight. They actually cutting to straighten, and it's actually a con. And I have a video on this, and you're welcome to have a look at that. Sometimes you might want the wheel to be sprayed. As you can see, the mag in question there has been beautifully sprayed. It's called a full refurbishment. But the point of what I'm showing you now is they are checking using a gauge if the mag is still meeting the specification, because yes, maybe they did the repair, but actually it's still not spinning properly. What I mean by properly, I mean it's actually still got a little kink in it, or it climbs a little bit. So it's very important to actually use a gauge. If you take your mag to a mag repair center and they're not using a gauge to check it, don't bother. Find someone else. Don't bother staying with that. You need the tool to measure it. Just using your eye is insufficient. You must use the gauge. Right, the last point is the balancing. Now you've got the mag, it's all straight, and now you've got to check the balancing. The balancing is very important because it tells you how well the repair was. It doesn't help to have a balancing, as you can see there, it says 45/160. That is a very poor repair. How can the mag be so uneven after a repair? So this is a bad result. Even without the tire on, it's giving 160/45. Don't accept a repair where the balancing is this out. Maybe 45/60 at the most, but not a 45/160. That means the mag, they've cut into the mag too much on one side, or they've done a very big weld on one side. They haven't evened it out, and so that is a mechanism to determine, are they cheating or not. Okay, the final check is with the tire on. Now you've got a perfect mag. The mag has been checked. The balancing should be at least no more than 40/45 before they put the weights on. And now you're happy with it, and now they put the tire on. Now they'll rebalance it, and it should be 0/0. But what reason why I'm showing this video is you can still see that the tire is climbing a little bit, yet the mag is perfect. And this is the problem. The problem is that the mag was deformed, the tire has learned that new shape, and you need to wait for the tire to follow the new or the repaired shape. It may do it, it may not. So these are just some of the challenges, and the problem is when you take it to the mag place, they'll say it's the tire is wrong. When you take it to the tire people to check, they say no, it's your mag. So at least you get a little bit of understanding of which is which comes back to the measurement of the mag with the tire off, and that is why you use the gauge, because once you've checked that the mag is perfect with the gauge, and by the way, the mag you're looking at is not meeting specification. That needle is climbing way too much. It's going around once. It's clocking too much, and that is actually called a clock gauge, just by the way. So you in order to not be conned by the tire people, the mag people, you use the gauge, and the gauge says to you, right, we spun the tire around, and the clocking was less than 5, therefore the mag is perfect. Therefore you know it's not the tire if the tire is not round. But if you don't do the clock and see it for yourself, then the tire people just say, no, your mag isn't straight. And then the mag people say, no, it's your tire. And this is how this thing carries on, and you never really get a resolution. All right, so that's the end of the video. I hope this helps you. I hope you can differentiate between the bearing noise, the tire noise, the mag issues, how the process of straightening the mag is. I'm going to the technical aspects of actually how you straighten a mag. I will do a video on how to actually do the work, but this is actually for the end user who's not actually going to straighten the mag themselves. They're really just going to follow the process of take the wheel off, take it to the mag repair center. So I hope this was helpful, and if it was, give a thumbs up. All right, thanks for watching.